The Chitrik Academy is dedicated in loving memory of Rabbi Tzvi Hirsh Chitrik.
Welcome to today's lesson. Today we are going to learn from Rabbi Yochanan, the first word on the top line of the page, until Mechayve. We learned in a brisa that there's a mechaykas between a meir and the Chachamim, whether a camel or a person's plate that was broken on the floor and someone else was hurt or was damaged, something was damaged through them, will the owner be chayiv or pater? So the Meir will say the owner will be responsible, and the Chacham will say the owner will be pater, will not be responsible. Today we are going to learn about a statement of Rabbi Yochanan. Let's start the Gemara. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, and Rabbi Yochanan says, La'achar nefila machoikis. The argument between the Meir and the Chachamim is only once these items are already on the floor. La'achar nefila, after they fell down. However, it sounds like from this statement that before it fell on the floor, or as the camel is lying down, or as these items that are falling and it causes damage, then they will not argue. They only argue, according to Rabbi Yochanan, after it's already on the floor. So now the Gemara is going to analyze, as it's falling, according to Rabbi Yochanan, will they all hold that it's chayiv, or will everyone hold that the owner will be pater? This is what we are going to learn about today. So the Gemara is going to start to analyze from Aval, from over here, until Ella. So Aval b'shas nefila, according to Rabbi Yochanan, as it's falling down, what will they all hold? Will they say divrei hakol pater? Will everyone agree that the owner will not be responsible? However, we can't say this, because since Rabbi Yochanan says later on, Rabbi Yochanan says in a different Gemara, the Gemara later on, Amar Aleph, brings a case that there are two people walking down the street. Let's call them person A and B. Person A trips and falls on the floor, and person B trips over person A and gets hurt. So the Gemara's question is whether person A is responsible for the damages that he caused to person B. And the Mishnah says that yes, person A will be responsible. He will be chayiv. This is what the Mishnah says over there. So now Rabbi Yochanan over there has explained this Mishnah, and he said, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. See where the dot is? Amar Rabbi Yochanan says, Loi tema masnisin re'meri. Don't say that the Mishnah, that the person who says chayev must be Rameir, the Amar who he says niskal peshehu, that someone who trips, he's considered negligent because he should have watched where he was going. V'chayev, and he would say in such a case he'll be chayev. Don't say that the Mishnah is only Rameir. Rather, ela filu rabbanan damru anasu. Even according to the Rabbanim, who will say that if a person trips, he's considered an einus. It was an accident. Upater. This case, in this Mishnah, is an exception. Hacha chayev. In this Mishnah, even the Chacham will say the person's chayev. She'elamid v'yamad, because he had time to stand up, and he should have gotten out of the way, and because he didn't, he'll be chayev. What we see from this statement of Rabbi Yochanan, that niskal, as a person is falling, the fact that a person fell, the Meir holds, Paisheyahu, the person is responsible, v'chayev, and he will be chayev. Going back to our Gemara. So we cannot say that b'shas nefila, everyone will say that the owner is pater. Let's read this again inside, from Vaha. V'amidik amar Rabbi Yochanan kaman. Since Rabbi Yochanan says later on, and now we're going to quote, Loi tema masnis re'meirhi. Don't say that the Mishnah is only Rameir. The Amar nisko pesheyahu, who says the nisko is a pesheya. Michlal, the Reb Meir mechayev. In this case, b'shas nefila, as the the camel is falling down, or as this plate is falling down, Rameir will always say that the person is chayiv. The owner will always be chayiv. So we cannot say that Rabbi Yochanan's statement that they're arguing only after it fell down, that's when will be the argument. However, as it's falling down, everyone will hold pater, because Rameir will still hold chayiv even as it's falling down. So we cannot say that Rabbi Yochanan was trying to imply that everyone holds that there will be pater. Okay, so we proved that not everyone could hold, not everyone will hold that b'shas nefila there'll be pater. Let's move on to the next stage. Elamai. So what will we have to say? That Rabbi Yochanan was implying that divrei hakol chayiv, that everyone will hold that b'shas nefila, as it's falling down, the owner will say chayiv, that everyone will say that the owner will be responsible for damages. However, this also doesn't fit, because like we mentioned, let's continue. V'hamidik amar Rabbi Yochanan kaman, since Rabbi Yochanan said later on in that Gemara, he had said, Loi tema. Let's just end the quotations up here. He had said, Loi tema masnis remerhi. Don't think that the Mishnah is Remeir, the Amar Niska Pesheyahu, that he is the one who says that everyone was responsible and he'll be chayiv, and that the owner of trips will be responsible because he was negligent and he'll be chayiv. The fact that Rabbi Yochanan says that a mayor is the one who says the person will be chayiv, Michlal de Pati Rabbanan. Seems like the b'shas nefila, the Rabbanan will say that the owner is pater. So seemingly we can't figure out how Rabbi Yochanan's statement would work out, because whether it's after they fell, they're already on the floor, or as they're falling, there will always be this machlokes between the Rameir and the Chachamim. Rameir will say that the owner will always be responsible, and the Chacham will say that the owner will always be pater. So how can we reconcile Rabbi Yochanan's statement that he says only after it fell down will be the machlokes? So now we're going to answer this question. Let's make an A. So now the Gemara is going to say an interesting halacha of the Chachamim. Ella hakamash mu'an. Rabbi Yochanan's coming to teach us the mafkir nizakav. In a case where a person makes his things hefker, something which could cause damage, he makes hefker, he makes it ownerless. Dahachahu de pati rabbanon. Over here in our case, the Chacham will say that he is not responsible. De'anasu, because it was an einus, as it was originally, as it was falling down, it was an einus. Avol mafkin is zakav the alma, but in a regular case where a person makes his things hefker, mechayevi, even the Chacham will agree to Rameir and say that the person is chayev. What does this mean? The Chachamim say that if a person's item, let's say a person was holding a pot and then it fell on the floor and it broke, and then someone else got hurt over it, the Chachamim will say, in this case, the owner will be pater. And the reason for this is because during, as it was falling, it was a mistake, and it was an einus, it was an accident, and the person will be pater if someone gets hurt as it's falling. Therefore, even once it falls on the floor, if the owner says, hefker, I don't want it anymore, I want it to be ownerless, I don't want it to be responsible, they'll say that the person will be pater, because he keeps his original status, because when it fell, it was einus, so even once it fell on the floor, the person could say hefker, and he will not be responsible. He'll be pater. However, in a case where a person put his pot on the floor, he put his item on the floor, it wasn't a mistake, and then he says, hefker, I want it to be ownerless, in such a case, the Chacham will agree with Rameir and say that the owner is chayiv. Why? Because he never had a point where it was an einus, where he will be pater. In this case, the person will always be chayiv. However, in this case, as it was falling, the person was einus. Let's just write it here. As it was falling, let's say right here, it was an einus. So therefore, even on the floor, once it falls, it will be pater. So this was what Rabbi Yochanan had said, that after it fell on the floor in a regular case, in our case, the Chacham will say that it was pater, because as it was falling, the owner was not responsible. Therefore, even if it's on the floor, the owner says, I don't want to own my items anymore, I want it to be hefker. Then, in this case, the Chacham will say that he's pater. However, in a regular case, if a person just decides to put something on the floor and then make it hefker, the Chacham will say that he will be chayiv. And this is the end of this lesson.